Love and Monsters hit theaters near the end of 2020 and earned less than 5% of its $30 million budget during its run on the big screen.
This is so bad!
Okay, I don't sound like that.
Though this was certainly in part due to the pandemic, Tenet, The War with Grandpa, and Honest Thief all overshadowed Love and Monsters with substantial earnings. Even the re-release of Hocus Pocus performed better. Yet somehow, Love and Monsters has a higher audience score on Rotten Tomatoes than any of these movies. So what makes this box office flop so endearing to fans? A movie shouldn't be judged entirely on its monetary success. Most of us just care if it tells a good story and entertains us. And Love and Monsters does both of these with care and skill. It's a simple tale of an underqualified protagonist on his quest to reach his true love in the fatal landscape of a monster apocalypse. It isn't genre-defying, but it is funny and action-filled, and the writing is woefully underrated. It delivers on every promise it makes, and gives you just a little more than you'd hope for at every turn. We're introduced to the world in the first minute or so, and the way it's done is so seamless and well written, with fun drawings, that I assume the movie was based on a comic book of some sort. An asteroid threatened life on Earth, humans destroyed it with nukes, and the nukes rained back down on Earth and turned bugs and stuff into monsters. While this kind of setup can feel clunky and exposition-y, that's a word, right? It's well done and will have you chuckling and settling down for what you can already tell is going to be a fun ride. The main character, Joel, is the only single person in his colony, and though he's trying to have a good attitude about not having any sort of role other than the guy who makes minestrone, it's clear he feels useless. They see him as sort of a team mascot almost, partially because he's the only one not coupled up. Joel sees this as a problem, and we start to get a glimpse into his wants versus his needs. If you're unfamiliar with what that means in storytelling, what a character wants is what they think will solve their problems, but it's never the heart of their issues. The real problem is the need, and it's the lesson they'll come to learn as the story progresses. More on this later. So the bunker they're living in is breached. While they're planning their counterattack, Joel asks where he can help, and they sideline him.
So you guys don't get scared, ever?
We get scared.
We all get scared, Joel, but you get really scared.
Joel goes to help anyways. He encounters the monster and, as hinted, he totally freezes. Dylan O'Brien really sells this moment. My body tenses up during the scene because I sense how badly he wants to act, but he just can't. In the end, his friends have to save him.
Did I shoot it or did you?
What do you think?
This breach scene is the catalyst for Joel. His world is turned upside down and his fears are confirmed. He's going to die alone. After all, if the bunker isn't safe, nowhere is. We get a well-placed flashback to introduce us to Amy, who Joel has been narrating to. We see the end of the world start, but more importantly, we're introduced to Joel's first experience of learning to draw. In the next scene, Joel hops on the radio to talk to Amy. We get the sense that just maybe she's a little less enthusiastic. There's another flashback where Joel promises to find Amy, and we're starting to understand the internal conflict Joel is enduring, seeing from multiple angles his dissatisfaction with his current status quo. He feels alone, afraid of the world, and useless.
Are you gonna make me say it?
Say what?
You can't handle it, Joel.
So Joel decides to take action and go find Amy's colony, which is 85 miles away. He's clearly affected by the loss of his friend during the breach and realizes that if the bunker isn't safe, there's no reason to sit here for the rest of his life and hope things get better. We're already rooting for this relatable main character, and seeing him have some agency is a win. It's the moment where Joel decides to act on his wants to be with his old girlfriend so he can stop feeling alone and useless, and inadvertently begin his journey of discovering what he truly needs, which we'll learn along the way with him. That's one aspect of this movie that I love. The storytelling is clear and concise and totally believable.
Joel!
They need help. I'm going.
Joel!
After a kind and slightly discouraging send-off, Joel heads to the surface. It's an exciting start to a grand journey. I really appreciate the first 20 minutes of this movie. The setup is fast and slimmed down in the best way. Every scene is necessary for driving Joel towards embarking on this journey. Okay, so Joel pretty quickly encounters some monsters and, surprise surprise, freezes. Luckily, this dog saves him and they run for their lives. The dog has lost his owner, a girl, and he's living on his own now. He only saved Joel because he thought it was his old owner. Small things like the girl's old dress and Joel's inferences from the little bus instantly endear us to Boy and seamlessly introduce a backstory to a character who can't actually tell us this himself. It's not an intricate backstory, but this movie sets out to tell an uncomplicated story and to tell it well. This is a great example of that. Joel has a close call with more monsters and gets rescued by a fun duo of Clyde and Minnow, who take him in.
I actually left on my own. Something I had to do.
You stole food, didn't you?
He's a food stealer.
It's a fun introduction, and they end up traveling together. Again, these characters are given straightforward backstories. Minnow lost her dad the same day Clyde lost his son. They've adopted each other.
I'm sorry.
No need to be sorry. We all have stories like that, don't we?
As they travel, we get to dig a bit deeper into the characters' personalities and learn that Joel blames himself for his parents' deaths. Clyde encourages Joel to keep up with his journal, which is a record of all the monsters he's encountered over the years. This is his coping mechanism, developed in that first flashback, but it becomes more than that as the story develops. These could have easily been throwaway travel scenes, but the movie uses this time to introduce elements of this world that will later on save Joel, for example this anti-venom, while keeping the runtime short and sweet. Sadly, the party splits up. Joel clearly hasn't learned his lesson and continues to pursue his want and not his need. We feel this tension when Minnow breaks down.
Why'd you gotta go?
As the audience, we're kind of wondering the same thing. Why does Joel have to find this girl? He's putting all his stock in this one relationship instead of valuing the other ones that could be just as important. Quick aside, another reason I thought this was based on a book is Joel's distinct storytelling voice. He reminds me a lot of Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon, but less self-deprecating.
The grass, the trees, the flowers. I mean, sure, you get the occasional bloody corpse, but...
This voiceover style could easily come across as juvenile, but the writing, coupled with Dylan O'Brien's performance, makes it charming. It also avoids feeling like empty exposition. It's hard to pinpoint what separates it from other voiceover info dumps, but I think it comes down to the tone and to the fact that we're given a reason for Joel to say this stuff. He's always writing in his journal or talking in his head to Amy, so it fits with the world we're given. It's not just a floating voice. Okay, aside over.
Not both.
Come on, Joel. Not both.
I'm super tired.
At the midpoint of the story, Joel gets attacked by this super creepy centipede thing. I was really surprised to learn this movie only had a budget of $30 million. That's like a fifth of most Marvel movies. It looks really good, and its visuals were even nominated for an Oscar. Joel gets attacked, and once again he freezes. He's knocked to the side, and Boy the dog is put in danger. We see a flashback of the moment Joel lost his parents and how he froze then too. We want so badly for Joel to act, but we've seen him freeze too many times before. Boy really feels in danger, and we care because Joel cares and because Boy has so much character. Finally, Joel acts. And he saves his best friend. This is a good step in the right direction for Joel. He's realizing what others mean to him, and he's discovering courage deep within himself. Next, we meet Mavis.
Did you steal food?
Which we got a hint of earlier back at the colony, a real Chekhov's gun moment. Chekhov's gun is just a literary principle where if you show a gun on screen, someone has to shoot that gun later on. Basically, don't introduce something to the plot that doesn't matter. Mavis offers the last of her battery life so Joel can call Amy. Joel instantly accepts, showing that he will still put Amy above everything. This is literally the end of Mavis's life, and he uses it to talk to Amy for like 30 seconds. Luckily, he gets a second chance with Mavis since the call ends prematurely and he takes her outside to see the sky. This scene has such a fun vibe with the music and visuals and character growth. I wish I could show the whole thing, but you know how copyrights are. We get another fun monster scene, driven by the dress that, as established multiple times earlier, Boy can't let go of, just like he can't let go of his old owner. Joel gets pretty upset with Boy for putting them in danger. He lectures him on caring about each other and how Boy isn't doing that, which is a bit ironic coming from Joel, the guy who has chosen a girl he hasn't seen in 7 years over everyone he's met along the way. Joel ends up getting poisoned by some slugs, and a line of dialogue earlier saves him.
Birds like these have an anti-venom.
He finally finds Amy, or rather he gets close enough and she finds him. There's this captain and some people who are here to rescue everyone.
Caught stealing food?
No, I didn't.
They're kind of blown away that Joel came all this way for a girl. And it turns out that, unfortunately, Amy isn't really interested in Joel after all. She's had a whole life taking care of this community, and she's moved on from their high school relationship.
Last year I lost someone.
It's a tough pill for Joel to swallow, but it's been hinted at throughout the story, and that makes it a satisfying twist. Joel's wants are unfulfilled, and he realizes that everything he did was for nothing. He's understandably devastated, but in this low moment, he discovers that the map his colony made him has messages on the back. He gets in contact with them via the radio and tells them all about the people who have impacted him along the way. Clyde and Minnow, Mavis, and Boy. His enthusiasm and their interest are so genuine that you can't help but smile. They ask about Amy, and Joel doesn't really know how to respond.
Really good.
It's the moment when he's finally forced to confront the differences between what he wanted to achieve, find Amy and prove his worthiness, and what he needs to do, fully appreciate the people who already love him for who he is. I'm going to brag once again on tiny details coming back throughout the story. There's one point earlier where Boy keeps Joel from accidentally poisoning himself with these berries. It's easily forgettable, but what makes this great is that these berries are actually how Joel discovers that the people here to rescue everyone have malicious intentions. That and the fact that the captain lied about lizards, which Joel only knows because of Clyde's lessons.
I was the first person to see it coming over the wall.
The lizard-looking ones can't climb for
I like that both of these are things Joel learned from the people who helped him along the way. I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm being repetitive, but seriously, this movie is fantastic at tying things together nicely and with clear intent. It makes a simple movie super fun to watch unfold. So Joel tries to warn everyone, but he gets knocked out. He wakes up, and the bad guy is getting ready to take everything from these people. I love that the joke about being a food stealer ends up being a perfect description for the main antagonist.
He's a food stealer!
We get a fun battle where Joel has to duke it out with this big ol' crab. Boy comes back to help, and he's not carrying the dress. In fact, we never see it again, which is symbolic of the fact that he's moving forward and letting go of the past. Bonus points to this movie for giving the dog a character arc. Joel has a chance to kill the creature, but something Minnow says to him comes to mind.
You can always tell in the eyes.
Instead of killing the crab, he frees it by using a technique Minnow taught him to shoot the chain and break it. The creature goes and kills the bad guys, and the day is saved. The captain and his goons are eaten, as they should be, and it's a satisfying end to a fun battle. Joel and Amy make up, but at the end of the day, Joel knows what matters most and sets out to find his people, leaving the ball in Amy's court for her to come find him this time. He also hands her this notebook titled Monster Apocalypse Survival Guide Volume 1, Don't Leave Your Colony Without It. Yet another reason I thought this was based on a book. We see Joel tracking fearlessly, well, mostly fearlessly, across the surface to get back home. He finds his people cowering in the bunker. In a reversal of roles, he becomes the rescuer. Joel convinces his people to make the journey above the surface and helps other communities by making a radio version of his notebook. Dozens of groups follow his advice, connecting the themes of community and courage together nicely.
Joel, you simply surviving that journey? It's incredible.
We're proud of you, Joel.
The final image, which is just a term for the last moment where we get to see the character after their growth, is of Joel together with his people making their way toward the mountains. He's not looking for the one to complete him, but rather he's loving the people already around him by helping them find the courage within themselves. Love and Monsters is a well-refined story where every scene matters and makes you care more about the relatable characters who learn and grow in visible ways. It's got a great heart with tangible themes of inner courage and the value of community. The plot is easy to follow and unbloated, but it still manages to surprise. There are cheer-worthy scenes and tear-worthy scenes. It's got endearing characters and hateable characters. There are beautiful moments, and there are moments where the monsters might make the faint of heart a bit queasy. It's got love, it's got monsters, and my goodness, it's got a dog who can act its paws off. If you want a fun movie to watch tonight, I can't recommend anything better than Love and Monsters. If this hadn't been released in the middle of COVID, I think it would have been one of those movies that built momentum as people generated positive word of mouth. Unfortunately, it was a box office flop. There's no doubt about it. But the good news is, that's not where the story ends. Word of mouth did spread, and the positive reviews for this movie continued to pour in. Love and Monsters fought its way to the top of DVD and digital sales, pushing the box office successes out of the way. It continues to sell well today and remains a fan favorite, because when it's all said and done, all we care about is a good story.
Oh, that was awesome. Oh, I feel like Tom Cruise.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into an underrated movie I personally love. Consider supporting my channel with a like. If you want to discover more movies with excellent storytelling, feel free to subscribe.